What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Trust Your Board podcast. My name's Stephen Wright, joined by Mr. William Monroe. Will, how you doing, man?
Steve, doing well. Got a couple drafts in the book here. We're going for 2.0 this week, as we had some technical difficulties with our first mock draft here. So get a double practice here for my upcoming home league draft.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. That's for sure. Yeah, you mentioned draft season. We had done our work draft over the weekend. So I guess we can go ahead and give a rundown on those teams. Does it sound good?
Yeah, let me pull up the board here on my end.
Yeah, sure. So while you're doing that, I'll go ahead and touch on my team here. So I was drafting out of the 11 spot. Keep in mind, it's a 12-team half-point PPR, 2 wide receiver, 2 running back, and 2 flex. At quarterback, I have both Jalen Hurts and Trey Lance. At wide receiver, I got Mike Evans, Tyler Lockett, Brandon Ayuk, Corey Davis, Tre'Quan Smith, and Josh Palmer. At the running back position, Nick Chubb, Najee Harris, James Conner, Latavius Murray, Kenneth Gainwell. And then I got Harrison Butker at the kicker position and the New England defense. Overall, I mean, for not being able to pay full attention to it, I'm pretty happy. You know, got 2 good dice rolls at the quarterback position. I like the wide receiver pairing. It's definitely kind of boom bust with, Evans and Lockett. You don't know what Ayuk's going to be like, but solid there. Running backs, definitely thin. Chubb and Najee being, the 2 main guys. Connor could be a decent flex. We'll see. Latavius Murray, I've said in past mocks that I like him at least early in the season until Michael Thomas gets back. And then Kenneth Gainwell, shot in the dark that I've been taking on a lot of our mocks. So overall, I'm pretty happy with the team. Will, you want to run down yours?
Yeah. So I was drafting here out of the number 3 spot. The top 2 went off the board per usual, McCaffrey and Cook. So myself here had the Kamara, Henry, I guess Zeke debate, as some people have been rising on Zeke a little more. But with a half PPR here, I went with Kamara. Someone that I don't think I've had too often in most leagues. And a couple of the top guys here I don't think I've had in leagues in recent years. My top 3 was Kamara, Hopkins, and Waller, which I don't think, maybe I've had Hopkins in years past, but I don't think I've ever had Kamara or Waller. So it'll be fun rooting for some different guys here this year for this league. Just an overall rundown. Took a similar mindset to you when it came to quarterback. I took Stafford in the 10th round and then Fields in the 15th round, second to last round there. Running backs have Kamara, Kareem Hunt, Melvin Gordon, Jamal Williams, Ramondre Stevenson, and Mark Ingram. For receivers, DeAndre Hopkins, Chris Godwin, Jerry Jeudy, Brandon Cooks, Michael Pittman, and then Darren Waller at tight end, Justin Tucker at kicker, and then Minnesota's defense was my last pick there in 16th round. Overall, pretty good. I think I mentioned on the last recording about it. I'm more of the mindset of taking kicker higher than defense. If I'm going to reach for one, most people, take the defenses. You'll see that, run start going first. But I took my kicker here in the 13th out of 16 rounds. End up getting Justin Tucker. Because the way I look at it, while they're both, somewhat important, I find that if I have a top kicker, I'm more likely to hold them throughout the year and not have to worry about that position than if I have a top defense. Just matchup-wise, you're not playing the top defense against the Chiefs, but you're more than likely going to play your top kicker against the Chiefs because you're looking for that matchup because teams are likely going to have to score some points. So definitely employ that strategy. And overall pretty happy. The fact that I got my second running back in the 5th round with Kareem Hunt, and followed up with Melvin Gordon. I've got some depth there. But when you go Waller early, it always kind of makes your team look a little less deep, or I guess tight end in general early. But overall, pretty happy with the way the team worked out here. So excited here for our 8th season. I think we were talking about before the draft itself, for us that we're at the live draft, going into our 8th season here, Steve.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to believe.
Yeah.
Wow. I remember hitting 5, and then I just, in my mind, it's just been stuck at 5 ever since then.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's cool. We are lucky that we got the draft done when we did. Any earlier, and we would have ran into a couple pieces of news. It looks like J.K. Dobbins done for the year.
J.K.
Old news by the time you're listening to the podcast, but that's the big one that happened between the last episode and this one. Definitely hurts our dynasty team, huh?
Yeah, it's a bummer. I know we're looking to maybe pick up a couple of young running backs just to add some depth, but yeah, at this point we've just got Jonathan Taylor, Najee Harris, and James White is our third running back. Todd Gurley, I guess, is a good depth piece, but yeah, not too deep there. Pretty good around the rest of the team though. So hopefully, if we need to make a move, we have some depth.
Yeah, and we have enough depth at the wide receiver position to just run with 2 running backs. So should be okay on that front. Cam Newton getting released. I'm not sure that has too much of a redraft impact on your normal single QB teams, but released nonetheless. We'll see where he ends up. Maybe he hurts somebody else.
Yeah, I think it helps the skill players. I think it really helps the running backs, whether it's James White catching balls out of the backfield from a rookie quarterback, or Stevenson and Harris with Stoney gone, getting more goal line carries. Cam not taking anything away from them. So I think overall it just kind of helps the skill players. What do you think?
Yeah, agreed. And on the flip side, I would be worried about where he goes because I'd imagine not too many people are taking him to, potentially be a starting quarterback, maybe a backup quarterback, but some teams are going to be looking at him as a goal line guy, a guy that can make some special packages for.
Taysom Hill type player.
Yeah, exactly. And, if you go to, I don't know what kind of team you'd be looking at, like Detroit, maybe he steals some touchdowns from DeAndre Swift, and, that's not cool. So, that's kind of my bigger takeaway from Cam. I agree with you all your points. It's definitely better for all the pass catchers, better for the running backs. He's just not the Cam of old, but he could still do some damage fantasy wise to some people on your team.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the big topics. There's a lot of, people signing and getting cut here as we're recording just after cut down day, final 53, and then a lot of the practice squads came out, but it's more dynasty news, so nothing, dramatic or drastic here. Trades.
Yeah, agreed. So with that said, we will be doing a mock draft for your upcoming draft for your home league. It's a 10-team half-point PPR. I think you said first year as a half-point for this league, so that's fun. Before we get started, we do need to change that timer from 3 minutes to 10 or something. Yeah. But Will be drafting out of the 7 spot. That is where he will be drafting out of in the real draft. And then, like last year, I will be playing the role of Mr. Will in the 3 spot.
All right. Yeah. So you got Big Bill there in the 3 spot. I'll be in the 7 here. And I know we talked about it toward the end of our first recording of this, but this will be our last mock draft of the season. As crazy as it sounds, we'll be recording probably Monday or Tuesday of next week, but that will be getting us prepped for week 1, if you can believe it, Steve.
Yeah. And in our episode that failed to record properly, I don't think we ever really talked about the schedule, but if memory serves, I think last year we did a 20-minute waiver episode on Tuesday, and then like a 20 to 30 minute ish start sit that came out that was for Wednesday, and then the start sit came out Thursday morning. Does that sound right?
It probably would have been Tuesday. We would have been putting out the waiver show because you got waivers go through Tuesday night, right? Or is it Wednesday night?
Nah, you're right.
Tuesday. I want to say waivers go through Tuesday into Wednesday. So I believe it was Tuesday morning we aimed to have the waiver show out, and then I guess we'd be looking at Thursday morning for the start sit show for those Thursday shows.
We'll end up recording Monday, release on Tuesday, and then record either Tuesday or Wednesday, release on Thursday. Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's. You ready to jump in?
Yeah. Let's hit it here. So I'm gonna get this draft started. See what you end up with there.
Okay. So off the board here, first we do have Christian McCaffrey and Derrick Henry. I think I talked in a couple mocks ago that Kamara had moved up into the 2 spot for me. I see that whole offense flowing through him until Michael Thomas returns. And I imagine he's just going to get, a maddening number of points. So I do have him bumped up above Dalvin Cook at this point. So I'm quite happy to grabbing him here. It's a great way to start my team. So we'll go ahead and lock him in. I don't think I need to say anything more about Kamara. Jonathan Taylor actually goes in the 4 spot, and then Cook falling all the way to 5, and then Saquon Barkley. Now you are on the clock.
All right, so definitely happy with the way this one shook out here. We have Nick Chubb and Ezekiel Elliott on the board, as well as Aaron Jones. Adam Jones was cornerback for Cincinnati, if you remember that one, Pac-Man Jones.
Yeah, it's funny because you made the mistake and then you almost said Pac-Man. Yeah. It's been a while since he's in the league. That's a throwback.
Yeah. So here, still got a lot of running backs on the board, but Ezekiel Elliott and Aaron Jones are 2 guys that stick out to me. And I think in our last one, I took Aaron Jones because Zeke was off the board, but I've got Zeke really listed here as the really kind of like a top 5 guy for me. So if he falls to 7, it'd be a pretty easy pick here, and be looking at another running back, one of the top receivers, or Kelsey here in the next round. So fairly easy to lock in Zeke here with the first pick. And after him, Nick Chubb, Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones, Tyreek Hill, Austin Eckler, and Pat Mahomes. So falls to me here that I do get the Kelsey to fall. And basically, going into this draft, I was looking at teams behind me to see if I think any of them would take Kelsey. Because my decision here is, if you got, let's say, McCaffrey, Henry, Kamara, Zeke, Cook, and like Jones off the board, if you're looking at like a Taylor, Jones, let's say, or Chubb, or go with Kelsey and get a running back next. Depending on who's there, I'd probably still go running back. But if Kelsey's here, I don't think I can pass him up in the second round. This would be pick 14. So even a 12-team league, you're still looking at him, if he picks into the second round. You got Diggs, you got Hopkins, Ridley, you got your Najee, Mixon, and Gibson, but just too hard to pass the value of Kelsey at this stage in the game. So pretty easy pick here to lock in Kelsey, get that tight end position locked down, and then look to probably go receiver, running back for a while here until ready to pull the trigger on quarterback. So we're going to go Kelsey. After him, Najee, Calvin Ridley, Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, Diggs is the guy I went with in the last one because, and I guess we should clarify, this is you start 3 wide receivers, and we do got 2 flex spots here. So you can start 4 running backs or 5 wide receivers if you wanted to. So I was stacking the wide receiver position, and I think I'll do the same thing here. You got DeAndre Hopkins here, and it's pretty hard to pass up here. He should get hyper targeted again. Antonio Gibson would be really nice. I think last time I rolled the dice on Diggs and Gibson got back to me. So maybe we'll get lucky and we'll see that again. But I'm going to go with DeAndre Hopkins. I haven't drafted him very much. And, given we're in a format, you can start so many wide receivers. And I do got an elite guy in Kamara. I am okay with waiting, at least another round on running back. But, if I need to wait to the 4th round, I'm okay with that too. So let's go ahead, put him in there. Joe Mixon, there goes Gibson. So he's not going to get back to me. Gibson, Metcalf at the turn. And then Clyde Edwards-Helaire going off there at the 3-2. So I'm back on the clock. We got David Montgomery, DeAndre Swift, Josh Jacobs, Chris Carson, Miles Sanders, Kareem Hunt, Myles Gaskin at the running back position. At the wide receiver position, we got A.J. Brown, Keenan Allen, Justin Jefferson, Terry McLaurin, Mike Evans. So a lot of really good options here. I haven't drafted any of these 3 wide receivers in any of our mocks, I don't think, being A.J. Brown, Keenan Allen, Justin Jefferson. I like them all. I don't know which I like more. A.J. Brown seems like the easy pick here, but, he is hobbled, and he has Julio coming in that could steal some targets. I'm a little worried there. Justin Jefferson, to me, screams overdrafted. With that amazing rookie season, I feel like he's going to come back to earth a little bit, as the Vikings defense gets better and, they go back to running the ball potentially. So that worries me. But at the same time, Keenan Allen, I don't think has the same upside that the other side too. So I think what I'm going to do is just punt the wide receiver position again. I'm going to draft David Montgomery. Pretty confident with him as my 2. And then I'll go ahead and grab some running backs here on my next 2 picks, or at least my next one. I'm sure they will be plentiful. So let's go ahead and lock in Mr. Montgomery. David Waller goes off the board right after that. There goes A.J. Brown and Keenan Allen. You're on the clock.
All right. So that is David Montgomery is the guy I was hoping for there. We've still got Swift, Jacobs, and Chris Carson. So a few options. I've got at the receiver position, Justin Jefferson, Terry McLaurin, Mike Evans, Allen Robinson. So a couple of decent options. At this point, not looking at the tight end position, but, it's nice to know that, you might have been able to get, let's say, a Kittle here had I gone Najee in the last round. But I do think Kelsey is still kind of that head and shoulders, above Waller and Kittle, even though they're in that top tier. So at the receiver position, it would be Jefferson, should I choose to go there, and then just kind of hope that a Swift, Jacobs, or like Carson get back to me. If I go running back, then I'm looking at either Chris Carson or DeAndre Swift. I don't particularly like Swift, Jacobs, or Carson, like one ahead of the other. Swift, if I had push came to shove, if I had to take one. But I am a little worried with the injury here and just the offense itself. And it's contrary to what you were saying about Justin Jefferson, with Irv Smith out and now they got Hearn in there now, there's just no targets probably going to be going to the tight end. It's going to be all Jefferson, Cook, and Thielen. So given that I've got a running back at tight end already, it's kind of nice here to be able to lock in a top receiver in Jefferson and then be able to kind of see what falls to me here, whether it be a Chris Carson or Mike Evans or Miles Sanders, Allen Robinson. So we're going to go Jefferson here, kind of see if I can maybe try to see if I strike a balance throughout the draft, how the team would turn out. So Jefferson, after him goes Kittle, DeAndre Swift, Josh Jacobs, Chris Carson, Terry McLaurin, and Miles Sanders. So a lot of running backs going off the board as predicted here. So with those guys off the board, I'm not particularly interested in grabbing any of the other wide receivers or any of the other running backs here now. I mean, Kareem Hunt's nice, but probably a little bit of a reach on him. There's going to be maybe a Gaskin or a James Robinson a little later that I can probably get as my two. So I'm going to go with another wide receiver, and we'll be looking at Mike Evans, Allen Robinson, CeeDee Lamb, Julio, Godwin. Be nice to get CeeDee Lamb, but I just don't foresee him getting back to me. And I guess you could take that, turbo boost there, but I just think there's a ridiculous amount of volume that's going to be there with Allen Robinson. I think I got him here in my last draft as well, with a different few players ahead of him. So I'm going to lock in Allen Robinson. I know that this league is, I believe, a 3-receiver league as well. So you're going to have to start 3 wideouts, be able to get 2 wide receivers and a running back locked in here in the first 3 rounds with Kelsey. So going to see what it looks like here if we, go running back with the first pick and then go away from that position for 3. What would happen if we were to wait to the 5th to get another running back? So going to go Allen Robinson here. After him, Mike Evans, Josh Allen, Julio Jones. To you.
I was going to be tempted to take Josh Allen. And I'm staring down Kyler Murray, and I'm kind of tempted to take Kyler here, but your dad is more of a late round guy like we are, and I got to stick to that, line of thinking here. So, taking a look at the running back position, we got Kareem Hunt, Myles Gaskin, James Robinson, Chase Edmonds, Melvin Gordon. At the wide receiver position, CeeDee Lamb, Chris Godwin, Amari Cooper, Robert Woods. What I think I'm going to do here, Will, it's a little bit of a roll of the dice, but I think I'm going to go ahead. Or maybe I won't. So I was thinking I could grab my wide receiver now. I do want Godwin. And then I could grab Mark Andrews here on the next pick. That is a little bit of a gamble. I could, grab Mark Andrews now and get whatever wide receiver gets to me. But, because I like Lamb. I like Godwin. I like Amari. I like Robert Woods. Cooper Kupp, DJ Moore. I like them all. But I really only like Andrews and Hopkins. So it feels a little early. I feel like they get back to me. I'm going to grab Godwin, grab the wide receiver that I want, and then we'll roll the dice, hope that Andrews gets back to me. If not, maybe I'll take Hopkins, maybe I'll grab another player, another wide receiver or running back here. And it looks like I got lucky there. So Amari Cooper went, and then Kyler and Pitts at the 4 or 5 turn. Robert Woods goes off the board. That leaves Mark Andrews for me. Take care of that tight end position here. Get one of my top guys. Pretty high on Andrews this year. So we will lock him in. That's an easy one for me. Lamar Jackson, Kareem Hunt, and CeeDee Lamb go off the board. You're back.
Man, CeeDee Lamb almost got back. I didn't expect him.
That would have been something
fall
else.
All the way
Yeah.
there, right?
Yeah, I mean, when you got 3 quarterbacks and 2 tight ends going, the possibility is there. That's something
absolutely. Now, I know most of the teams behind me are, at 2, 2, and 3 running backs respectively, but I still don't know that I can, pass on a running back at this point. So at this point, I'm debating between Myles Gaskin and James Robinson. Both guys, it's pretty funny. They seem to be in similar situations. Young quarterbacks, likely the go-to running back for this season at least, both undrafted. And both had pretty productive years last year. I think I lean James Robinson here just because it seems like that I want to say I trust that offense a little more. It's tough to say either way, but I just trusted that he's going to get a lot of volume over Gaskin. I was never a huge Gaskin fan last year, even though I admit, he did have a really good year. I think he got a lot of receptions that I don't know that he's going to get this year with the other receivers around him. I think they're going to try to air it out more, not going to run as much, whereas I think Jacksonville could be a little more run heavy. So I'm going to look to James Robinson and then see what receivers get back here. A Lockett, Cooper Kupp, or DJ Moore. I doubt they're still there. But a Lockett would be a nice third receiver here to pair and kind of lock in my non-flex position. So I'm going to go James Robinson here in the 5th. After him, Cooper Kupp, Myles Gaskin, Adam Thielen, DJ Moore, Justin Herbert, and Kenny Golladay. So worked out here for me. I'm not huge on Golladay. Adam Thielen, so, but I've got Jefferson already. So Moore and Kupp would have been nice, but not, overly sad not getting them and still having Lockett here. I think I've got a lot of volume in Al Robinson and Justin Jefferson already, so I can kind of get that boom play of Tyler Lockett to pair with them and really lock in my 2 running backs, 3 receivers, tight end, and have flexibility to begin to build depth in flex positions and possibly even running or possibly even the quarterback position if the right player presents itself here. So I'm going to draft Tyler Lockett and lock him in as my 3rd receiver, pun intended. After him, TJ Hawkinson, Deontay Johnson, and Darrell Henderson.
Okay, so we are back on the clock. A lot of quarterbacks here at the top of ADP. Russ, Aaron Rodgers, and Dak. I will go ahead and just pass on the quarterback position. At running back, we're looking at Chase Edmonds, Melvin Gordon, Raheem Mostert, Mike Davis, Javonte Williams. At the wide receiver position, Brandon Ayuk, Michael Thomas, Odell Beckham, T. Higgins, Chase Claypool, Jamar Chase. So still looking at good options on both the running back and wide receiver groups. I think I will take one of each. And, I've been grabbing Ayuk a lot. I mentioned earlier, I grabbed him in our real draft, and I think I will go ahead and grab him here. And then ideally a running back can get back to me. Mostert would be awesome. I'd be fine with Mike Davis, or Gus Edwards. Oh yeah, Gus Edwards. I probably like Gus Edwards more. Ideally Gus Edwards gets back to me. But again, I'm fine with Mostert and Mike Davis as well. Really, well, Will, I really could take 2 running backs here now, couldn't I? That would really...
Good. You can start 4 in this league.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good. I think that is what I'm going to do. That only leaves me one other wide receiver to grab, and on my next pick, I can grab it, Robbie Anderson, a Debo, Devonta Smith, something like that. I think I would be more comfortable. It gives me depth at, a position you tend not to have depth in, even after drafting a tight end early. So we'll go ahead and lock in Gus Edwards here first. I do like him more than Mostert and Mike Davis because he's going to have the first and second down role. He's going to get the touchdown work, and he doesn't have the injury history that Mostert does, or the long history of just not being great that Mike Davis has, or yeah. the weight of that Javonte Williams presents. So locked in Gus. We had Dak go off the board right after that. Odell Beckham, the last pick of the 6th round to start the 7th, Melvin Gordon and Chase Edmonds. So pretty easy here. I'm going to take the upside that is Raheem Mostert. I am looking at Javonte Williams a little bit here because I have Kamara, Montgomery, and Edwards. I could afford to wait a little bit for Javonte, to take over that role. And Mostert's kind of in the opposite position. He's like an injury away from losing his role potentially. But I'm going to stick with Mostert. In that offense, he's got really higher upside than Javonte, I think. And he's got the starting role now. So I'll take on the injury risk. We will go ahead and add Mostert to get a 4th running back here within the first 7 rounds. Quite happy with that. There goes Ayuk right after Chase Claypool and Russell Wilson.
All right. So if we just kind of do a quick recap here, top of the board, we still have Rodgers, Brady, Tannehill, Stafford, Hurts. So quite a few quarterbacks available. Tight ends, I know you and I both have them already, so we're probably not going to be drafting another, but just to give you an idea here, at the 7-7 pick in the 10-team league, you're looking at Goddard, Noah Fant, Robert Tonyan, Gronkowski, Logan Thomas, Gesicki, Higbee. So still some guys that aren't bad. If you do not get one of those top tight ends, there are still decent guys that you can wait on and load up at those more important positions. But we're going to be looking at running back and receiver here. At the receiver, we've got Michael Thomas, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. Interesting to see Higgins ahead of Chase now in the ADP. I feel like for the longest, Chase was the top Cincy receiver taken. After that,
maybe he dropped a spot for every pass he dropped during training.
I saw someone post a highlight reel of all Jamar Chase's catches throughout preseason, and it was just a replay from multiple angles of his one catch in the preseason. It was pretty funny. Juju Smith-Schuster, Jerry Jeudy, DJ Chark, Cortland, Sutton. So still some solid depth receivers. So at this point, Jeudy and Higgins are probably the two that I'm interested in, but not at this point. I think there's more pressing need at running back. So I'm going to go running back here and then possibly running back again the next round, depending on who's there. And the pairing I'm looking to see if I can get is Javonte Williams and Damian Harris. So I think, depending when you're drafting, his ADP may start rising as people, I guess become more aware of the Sony trade, more aware of Cam not being the starter. But his ADP has just really not corrected itself yet. I'm tempted to take him here, but the way the ADP is working out, I think Javonte Williams is still someone that people are a little more hype on. So I'm going to go with Javonte Williams here first. And there's still Mike Davis. You still got Ronald Jones, some other running backs. And Judy's kind of my fallback plan to take in the next round. Just that, boost that is Javonte Williams. I think he's still going to be flex worthy in the first round, in the first week. But, by midseason, there really could be a chance that he takes over and is getting the bulk of the carries. So we're going to go Javonte first and pray that we get Harris to fall to us. So Michael Thomas, Mike Davis, Aaron Jones, Ronald Jones. There goes Damian Harris. So unfortunately, he does not fall. And Jamar Chase. Now, I still have T. Higgins there, which is interesting. T might be the pick here. So it's between T. Higgins and Jerry Jeudy. And it's just interesting, like volume-wise, who do you think is going to have more volume, more touchdowns? You imagine that Joe Burrow, if he's healthy, he's going to have the volume. Jeudy is interesting as well. Tom Brady's still sitting here. If Rodgers was here, I think you have to go with Rodgers, but Brady's still there. Because I do think Brady is like a kind of a tier above Tannehill, Stafford, and Hurts. I don't know that I want to go quarterback before I've got all of my depth lined up. But much I like Higgins and Jeudy, I'm not. I think there is still decent depth behind him. Like Boyd, I don't think he's going to score as much as Higgins, but I do think that he's going to be maybe more consistent. So I think I want to see what happens if I go quarterback here a little earlier than I normally do. Feel a little more confident at that onesie position of Brady and Kelsey and not have to worry about either of those two. And then to build my depth out. I've got 3 of each of the multiple positions with running back and receiver. So let's see what happens if we go Brady here. So I'm going to go Brady, Jeudy, and T. Higgins go, and Robbie Anderson, someone that seemed like you were looking at.
Yeah, I was really hoping for Judy or Robbie. So that is a shame. So we're going to take a look at the wide receiver position, given we drafted 4 running backs already. We got Juju, DJ Chark, Cortland Sutton, Deebo Samuel, Devonta Smith, Tyler Boyd. Let's see here. So I'm thinking with these next 2 picks, I'll probably see if I can go Cortland Sutton and either Deebo or Devonta Smith. That really rounds out my wide receiver group nicely. I got some, steady guys in Godwin and Hopkins that represent upside and volume. Then you could take more upside shots on a Sutton and a Deebo and, or, a Devonta Smith as well. He's also a volume play, but, you could take some upside shots on some guys. So I think I'm comfortable with that. Like you, I am taking a look at the quarterback position. Tannehill is the guy that I want. It does look like right now every team has a quarterback. So when are they going to start drafting a second one? That's really the roll of the dice.
Yeah.
So that's where you got to know your league a little bit and, who drafts 2 and who doesn't. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to draft Cortland Sutton here first. I haven't gotten him in too many mocks, but we're going to go ahead and lock in Mr. Sutton for my first wide receiver. Goddard goes off the board, and then Juju with the last pick of the 8th to start the 9th, Trey Sermon and DJ Chark. So this works out nicely. I get my my pick at the wide receiver between Deebo and Devonta Smith. And I am going to put on Mr. Ron Monroe's hat and be a little bit of a homer here. Pick the Devonta Smith player here. Again, nice volume play. I'm not sure I feel like Deebo probably has higher upside because I trust the San Francisco offense to be great more so than I trust the Eagles offense to be great. But Devonta Smith should have just a ton of volume, given the other pass catching options there. So we will pick the homer play here since that is my role here today and lock in Mr. Devonta Smith. Deebo goes off the board right after that. And there goes Robert Tonyan and Leonard Fournette.
All right, so we've got basically all of our starters aside from flex number 2 locked in here. And given that we've got Javonte Williams, so probably want to get a more stable back as well. But Tyler Boyd, someone I mentioned in the last round, is still available, and I don't see him as that much further down than T. Higgins and Jerry Jeudy. Obviously, those 2 have a much higher upside. But there's definitely a floor with Boyd that I think you could see Chase and Higgins kind of cannibalize the big plays against each other, whereas Boyd seems to be a little more just kind of volume. You're getting the receptions there, especially in a half-point PPR league. So he's definitely someone to consider here. Running backs definitely thin out, so only having 3 does not feel great at this point. You got David Johnson, you got A.J. Dillon, Michael Carter, A.J. Brown, some guys a little lower down. Jamal Williams is much further down, but he's someone that I feel like I'm more comfortable with than most of these guys. So I think I'm going to go with Boyd here, see what's available there, and then I may look to reach for Jamal Williams a little earlier, especially for that early week 1. Not as much upside there, but just a little more stability. But we'll see. We're going to go Tyler Boyd here with the first pick and see what else gets back. So Zach Moss, Noah Fant, David Johnson, Rob Gronkowski, Jarvis Landry, A.J. Dillon. Man, this 2 back teams only have 2 receivers and 3 receivers total, respectively, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's not going to work. The other team, too, right there, Team 8, I mean, they got 4, but one is Michael Thomas that's going to be out for a while. One's Jamar Chase that's going to take time. And I think Galladay's banged up. I might be making that up. But either way, I mean, you only got 2.
Not thrilling, yeah.
Yeah, so I'd be a little bit worried there.
Yeah, interesting. So, I definitely feel like I need to get some running back depth. I've already got Javonte Williams. So I don't know why I want Carter, someone who's going to take some time. And James Conner's not someone I'm thrilled about, as well as Kenyon Drake or Singletary. So as much as it, maybe a little bit more of a reach here in this situation, I definitely want to get a running back, and I don't know that he gets back to me. I mean, there's probably a chance he does, but I'm not, there's a lot of quarterbacks and tight ends on the board here. Your Brandon Cooks, AJ Brown every time. Antonio Brown would be nice, especially pairing with Brady, but I've already got some solid depth there. So let's see if I can lock in that running back position here with What is he out there with Jamal Williams, and just have a little more stability there. After him, Brandon Cooks, Will Fuller, Michael Carter, and you're up.
Man, I was actually hoping that Michael Carter got to me. I haven't really drafted him a lot, and I think he would have made sense for this team. So that is kind of a shame. But my gamble for the quarterback position did pay off. I will go ahead and lock in Tannehill now and not roll the dice. Team 1 is looking like a team that's going to draft a quarterback. So I am going to go ahead and just get my quarterback out of the way. We'll draft Ryan Tannehill. And there it is. James Conner goes off the board. And then Matt Stafford, Team 1. Did I call that or what? Oh, man. That was with the 10-10. Starting in the 11th round, we had Laviska Shenault and Mike Gesicki. So quick rundown of our positions. Running back, we got Kenyon Drake, Devin Singletary, Philip Lindsay, Naeem Hines, Sony Michel, Tony Pollard. At the wide receiver position, Antonio Brown, Jalen Waddle, Corey Davis, Mike Williams, Curtis Samuel. So a lot of plenty of good options, really, at both positions. I mean, the running back position, a little bit more of a depth kind of a deal. And then the wide receiver position, we've got some solid options there. I'm looking at Lindsay, like I should be drafting Lindsay against starting running back here, but I don't want to today. So I'm looking at the wide receiver position, and I think, it might be a little early for him. I think I'm going to grab Curtis Samuel now. I know me and you are both pretty high on him this year. Back with Rivera, Washington offense that needs a good wide receiver too. So pretty confident in him this year, and as my fifth wide receiver, it's no big deal if it doesn't pan out or, the injury ends up, slowing him down for the first few weeks or something like that. So go ahead and lock him in there. We'll see. Maybe I can grab a Tevin Coleman or, a different running back here coming back around on the next turn. But Logan Thomas goes off the board, then Devin Singletary and Jalen Hurts.
All right. So back to me here. We've got 4 running backs and 4 wide receivers. So still some balance there on the team. A couple of guys that I'm looking at here, receiver-wise, Antonio Brown, Corey Davis, Michael Pittman. And then on the running back side, still got Kenyon Drake there. I don't know what to make of him. I guess at this point, it seems like he could have a decent role. It sounds like we didn't really see Jacobs have like a full role last year, with lesser running backs. So maybe we're going to see just kind of a split role there, but I just don't know that I'm ready to buy into him. So I think I'm going to look to the receiver position here and then, possibly look if one of them's still there in the next round or, get like a Naeem Hines, another safer option, given that I've got, James Robinson and Javonte Williams there and Jamal Williams, who may only have like major roles while Swift is hurt. So I think Naeem Hines it would be a nice, safer running back here to give some padding. So at this point, do I want to pair Antonio Brown with Tom Brady here as my 5th receiver? Or do I want to take maybe not an upside shot, but an upside volume there with Corey Davis? And he's someone that I haven't had much, but I think, with the safety of having, Tyler Boyd there already and then having a few, I don't want to take a little more of an upside shot. And I doubt that either of them are there in the next round. So I'm not going to be able to play that ADP game. You might be able to see like a Pittman there next round, but I'm going to go with, more of what I hope is more of a volume play and be more of a consistent player in Corey Davis. After him, Kenyon Drake, Antonio Brown, Jalen Waddle, Tyler Higbee, Tony Pollard, and Mike Williams. So we're still looking running back and receiver here. It's going to be the rest of the draft. Still got Sony Michel there, which is an interesting option, as well as Naeem Hines and Michael Pittman. A little later, Ramondre Stevenson down there. So just looking at running backs that fit the team here. For me, I would be debating between Pittman and Hines, as well as, the possible opportunity of taking Michelle here. And given that, I don't have a lot of upside at running back, I think I can find a Hines level guy in like a James White, possibly a little later. I think, it's going to be between Pittman and Sony for me here. And given that I want to see if I can keep this balance, as much as I had Pittman, I've got 5 receivers already. I want to go see if we can take a shot with Sony Michel here. I think, he's going to be rising up some boards. Henderson, I don't think they want to give him the full workload just, for lack of keeping him healthy throughout the year. So I'll take a shot with Sony Michel here. So I'm going to go Sony here in the 12th round. After him, Mecole Hardman, Trevor Lawrence, and Joe Burrow.
Philip Lindsay seems like the easy option here. You don't get a starting running back here in the 12th round too often. And I don't like him a lot, but again, that's a solid depth play. And looking at the wide receiver position, when we have Pittman, we got Ruggs, we got Marvin Jones, Darnell Mooney. I like all of them guys. So I'm good taking Lindsay now to make sure that I get the running back that I like, and then we'll grab whatever wide receiver gets back to me. So we get him in there. Michael Gallup, Nyheim Hines go off the board. That locks in the 12th. And then starting in the 13th, we had Pittman and Hollywood Brown. So we're looking at Darnell Mooney, Ruggs, and Marvin Jones. And, I think, Marvin Jones makes the most sense for this team. He's going to be
Marvin Jones. I know he's banged up right now, but I think he's going to be the one there.
Yeah, in typical Marvin Jones fashion, he's boring, but, he's been steady his whole career. He looks to be Trevor Lawrence's number one target. It's a bad team that's going to be throwing a lot, have a lot of positive gain scripts for him. And then looking at the team, Cortland Sutton coming off the injury, he's only had 1.5 good years. That could have been a fluke. So he could start slow. He might not have chemistry with Bridgewater. A lot of things could go wrong with Sutton. I don't think it's going to, but things could go wrong. Devonta Smith's a rookie. Everything you said about him, you said about Jalen Reagor last year, and look what happened. It didn't come to pass. So that's a risk. Curtis Samuel could have the injury linger. You don't know. So I feel like my team could benefit from, a solid, steady depth play of Marvin Jones than an upside guy in Darnell Mooney or Ruggs. So we're going to go ahead and lock in Mr. Marvin Jones. Mooney goes off the board right after that. Chuba Hubbard and Latavius Murray. You're back on the clock.
All right. So still looking at running backs and receivers here. Running backs, you get Alexander Madison, Ramondre Stevenson, Tevin Coleman, Rashad Penny, J.D. McKissick. So some decent options. Nothing I'm overwhelmed with. Stevenson would make the most sense, but I think in that situation, I'd almost rather wait for a James White much later in the draft and just get more of a solid play, kind of similar to the Jamal Williams, but someone that could have a role throughout. So I'd be looking more at the receiver position here, and I'd be looking here, with Henry Ruggs still on the board, someone that I think could have that second-year breakout. John Brown's gone. As far as I can tell, it's just John Brown and Bryan Edwards, right? I don't know of any third receiver there.
Well, John Brown asked for his release, so there's no one else there.
Yeah, it's just the two of them as far as I can tell.
Yeah, I mean, you got Waller you're dealing with, so that counts. But I don't. I can't think of anyone else that's there because Aguilar left.
And I think that puts, because John Brown, I think, was really there more of and played a similar role to a Henry Ruggs, right? Whereas Bryan Edwards is going to be more of a possession guy. You could probably make some big plays as well, but he's more of a big body guy.
You know what? We are forgetting some people that you actually know.
What's that?
Hunter Renfro's there.
Oh, Hunter Renfro, yeah.
Zay Jones is there, and so is Willie Snead apparently. So it's actually a decent cast to some degree, but
I still don't think there's a ton of big play, deep threat though that Ruggs brings. So I think Ruggs is the explosiveness to that offense. You could say the running backs as well. Drake has some pop, and Jacobs can definitely get done. But I think Ruggs is definitely at this stage of the game here, as a wide receiver 6 in the 13th round. Wouldn't mind taking a shot on him. And then hoping that Marquez Callaway gets back to me in the next round and can kind of take a couple of upside shots at wide receiver here, getting some safety with Boyd and Corey Davis and the rest of my starting receiving core. So I'm going to go Ruggs here and see if I can get Callaway to come back, and then just looked at some running back depth with my last 2 picks. So after him, 3 quarterbacks off the board. Justin Fields, Trey Lance, and Baker Mayfield. And then we have Alexander Madison, Irv Smith, and Hunter Henry to get back to me. So looking here, Marcus Callaway was the one I was thinking about, and he's going to be the pick here. Ramondre Stevenson's interesting. Elijah Moore, someone that you and I have been hype on. I think I have in both of my dynasty leagues, but someone I think is more of a long-term play. He's going to flash this year, but I don't know you're going to get the consistency from him. Already got a Corey Davis on the team, so it doesn't really make sense to get another receiver on that team. So going to be looking here at the receiver position, and we're going to go ahead and get a Marquez Callaway here, lock in another guy that, maybe it's early in the season until Michael Thomas gets back, but someone's got to be the number one on that team. So we're going to lock in Marquez Callaway, get some additional receiver depth there. After him, Ramondre Stevenson, Jonnu Smith, and Rashad Penny.
Yeah, I will. I'll probably do something similar last time and just go with 1 and 1. Many rounds ago, I mentioned Tevin Coleman as a potential starter. I don't think anyone thinks he's going to be the starter for long. But he could help cover me, for a week 1 or 2 injury potentially. So, that's a solid pick here. I've been drafting Gainwell a lot as kind of an upside play, but, with the running backs that I have, I don't really feel like I need that upside play. I'd rather just have an injury risk. So I think I'm going to lock in Tevin Coleman first. Definitely going to be the last running back I draft unless something happens. Someone falls. So we'll go ahead and lock him in there. And then we will go from there. Sleeper is taking its time on this one, Will.
There we go.
Matt Ryan and then Devontae Parker there at the end of the 14th. Jared Cook and Elijah Moore start the 15th round. Looking at the wide receivers, we do got Nelson Aguilar, Cole Beasley, Jalen Reagor, T.Y. Hilton, now on the IR list for the first 3 games. Randall Cobb, Jacoby Myers, Rondell Moore, Russell Gage. Plenty of good options here. I'm going to reach a little bit from ADP, and I'm going to draft Russell Gage. I think he... I mentioned my last pick that I needed a nice depth play. I think Russell Gage represents both. He's got some upside, but he also, I think, can represent, volume and safety as well. And, getting that kind of combination late, I think is pretty good. So it might be a little early from the ADP standpoint, but, you're late in the draft. You could throw all that out the window. So we're going to lock him in there. Quite happy with that here with my second and last pick. McKissick goes off the board, Devontae Booker, and Kenneth Gainwell. You are back on the clock.
All right. So I alluded to this pick recently, and it makes sense here for this team to get just more of a safer running back. And I think there's a couple guys here late. Your J.D. McKissick, Gio Bernard, and James White all kind of serve that receiving back role. But I think James White makes the most sense for me, right? He's with a quarterback that doesn't have the skill that a receiver that you see with a Brady and with the Fitzpatrick in Washington and in Tampa. You got a rookie quarterback that likes to check it down, as we mentioned earlier, and he's someone that's probably going to be virtually free. So getting him here in the last couple picks makes it just makes a lot of sense to be able to lock him in. And yeah, I mean, there's some competition there, but not as much as you're going to see with Gio in Tampa and even McKissick with the rookie there, and then obviously Antonio Gibson. So James White feels like a safer option here to pair with a couple of young guys and a couple of maybe unproven guys all behind Zeke. And then we're going to be looking at a sleeper that I've recently, based on some roster cuts, have been turned on to a little bit more here with my next pick that pretty sure won't be picked because I don't think he's anywhere close to the ADP. So after James White, Cole Beasley, Nelson Aguilar, Jalen Reagor, T.Y. Hilton, Randall Cobb, Xavier Jones. I don't imagine we're going to see Hilton or Xavier Jones drafted in many leagues, but there's a chance maybe someone drafts him, not knowing. But the guy I'm looking at here is pretty far down in the ADP, but he outperformed the number 2 running back on his team. He is on a team with an elite kind of top 3 running back. That's Tony Jones in New Orleans. From all indications, he outperformed Latavius, a 30-year-old running back who had limited snaps in the preseason. So, I mean, obviously, all of this is based on in Alvin Kamara either injury or have to dial back. But Tony Jones seems like he's a 23-year-old young running back that really was able to, be pretty impactful throughout training camp. So he's going to be the pick here for my last running back pick, and he's going to be someone that, after a week or two, if I really need to, I can, move on from him. So lock it in, Tony Jones.
Okay. It looks like we had Evan Ingram, Mack, and Gurley go off the board. There's still a lot of good wide receivers that I like, believe it or not. Jacoby Myers, I've been high on. Brian Edwards, we're both high on. AJ Green, I like taking shots on. Amon-Ra St. Brown, another really interesting one. And I think he's actually the one I want. I like Jacoby Myers. I do worry about how many options a rookie wide receiver or a rookie quarterback the Patriots can support. And there's a lot of decent options there. Brian Edwards, good upside shot. AJ Green, if you want to roll the dice there, that's fine. But, I think, Perryman getting waived this week says something about Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think he's ready to step up into some decent kind of role. And, there's no one there outside of Hopkinson. Tyrell Williams is there, Quintez Cephas, but, Tyrell's on the back end of his career. Cephas, a second-year guy, he could break out, but he's also, I think he was like a 7th-round pick or something. So the expectations aren't very high. So I think Amon-Ra St. Brown has a great opportunity. It's, kind of like we were talking about with Jacksonville earlier with Marvin Jones. It's a team that's going to be in a lot of positive game scripts from his standpoint. So, a lot of potential volume. It might take some time. He is a rookie. It might take a half a year, but I can afford to wait. So we'll go ahead and lock him in there. We have Gio and Mark Ingram go off the board with the last 2 picks. So let's go ahead and give a rundown of our teams. I'm drafting out of the 3rd spot, so I will go ahead and go first here. At the quarterback position, I got Ryan Tannehill. At running back, Kamara, David Montgomery, Gus Edwards, Mostert, Philip Lindsay, and Tevin Coleman. At wide receiver, DeAndre Hopkins, Godwin, Sutton, Devonta Smith, Curtis Samuel, Marvin Jones, Russell Gage, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and at the tight end position, Mark Andrews. Love this team. I like this a lot better than the one that didn't get recorded properly. That's definitely partially due to the tight end situation that I had last time, but overall I like it. With Kamara and Montgomery, I'm confident in those two. Gus Edwards and Mostert are, that's a great foursome at the running back position. Lindsay and Coleman are fine. They're just good depth plays. Hopkins and Godwin, elite wide receivers. Sutton, Devonta Smith, Curtis Samuel could all be really solid, start-worthy guys with some upside to them. Mark Andrews, great tight end. Tannehill, great quarterback. So overall, I'm really happy with this team. Will, you want to run down yours?
So quarterback, we've got Tom Brady. Running backs, Ezekiel Elliott, James Robinson, Javonte Williams, Jamal Williams, Sony Michel, James White, Tony Jones. Receiver, Justin Jefferson, Allen Robinson, Tyler Lockett, Tyler Boyd, Corey Davis, Henry Ruggs, Marquez Callaway, and then Travis Kelce at tight end. Definitely like this team better than our 1.0 this week where we tried. I think I actually went a little more running back heavy in that league. And I think I may have gotten Waller as well, but it just wasn't as happy with the depth of the team. This one, starts with Brady and Kelce. Barring injury, I kind of lock those guys in and don't have to worry about those positions all year. And the receiver position, I feel like I've got some good top end guys as well as depth with Jefferson, Robinson, and Lockett. Tyler Boyd is more of a safe option with Davis likely getting some good volume, and Ruggs and Callaway as kind of some boom options. Running back position is the only one that is a little shaky. Pretty confident in Zeke and James Robinson this year, and going to be waiting on Javonte Williams to take a step forward. But I've got Jamal Williams and James White to kind of plug in as needed early. And then Sony Michel and Tony Jones are kind of more upside guys that I've got as well. So, yeah, overall, I like the team.
Awesome. Well, that is going to take care of our last mock draft of the year. Tune in next week, next Thursday. I'm going to have to get used to this for our Start Sit episode. If you have Start Sit questions, hit us up on Twitter at TrustYourBoard. We will get them worked into the show for you. But until then, folks, trust your board.